Hello and welcome back to Northwestern Models TV, and today I'm going to show you how to put together the station shelter kit in 00 gauge from 4Ground. So, let's get stuck into it. Well, first things first, we need to break into the pack, which is easy enough to do. So let's see what we've got in here. Right, don't need that anymore. Right, so we've got various little frets for all the different components, and as with all 4Ground kits we have a complete list of photographic instructions, and they're all labelled as well, so page 1, for 2 and 3. It is, as with any kit, it is worthwhile just scanning through the kit itself and the instructions, just identifying the parts that it mentions on there, so you have a bit of an idea of how the kit actually goes together. Now, this is a laser cut kit, so it will go together, or it should go together fairly well. So I'm very well, may as well just get started with it. The glue that we're going to use today is the Deluxe Materials Rocket Card Glue. It's really good for laser cut kits, card kits as well, if you've got anything from the Metcalf range. But generally, as an all-round, pretty much all-purpose glue, it's a pretty good glue, so we're going to use that today as well. So, first task is, looking at it, is part D, which is this part here, and part N, which is on there. So I'm going to put the other frets that I don't need just now just to one side until they're needed, and we can go through. Right, so I need part N. Now, using a craft knife, just go around the fret and just find out where all the little tabs are, which are holding the part into the actual fret, which will then release it. Ready, look, there we go, and part D. Yep. It's important as well to make use of the photographs which are in the instructions to help you get things the right way around. And that's so for instance, this part D here, we've got, if you can see there, it is got a grain effect on it on one side, and the other side is completely blank. So make sure that when you put it together, you put it together as it is in the photos, because it just means that it's going to go together the right way around for you. So let's get the glue, and to make things a bit easier, a bit more accurate with the glue, we're going to put the little nozzle on, which you should get with it, and put a bit of glue on the back of this part. Doesn't need a lot, as we don't want the glue splurging out everywhere, but just enough to hold it together. Should be enough, and it goes that way around, lined up on the bottom there. Like I said, you just literally follow the instructions, and you can't really go too wrong with these kits. These 4Ground kits are very, very good for little building kits of buildings and things like that, and they've always been a joy to make. Every one that I've made up, I've genuinely really enjoyed actually building together, putting it together, because they just go together so well. They're a really well designed and well made kit, which is nice to see. And it's a shame in some ways that the range hasn't expanded any further over the last few years. A number of years ago they did put the suggestion out that they were going to do an N gauge range, but unfortunately it's never really materialised, which has been a bit of a shame really, but one of those things. But still, they're certainly amongst the popular kits that we sell, particularly the bench kits, like the pub benches and the platform benches, are very popular. Right, so the next piece that we need is pieces A and pieces B, which I've just cut out, and then we are assembling them onto the other part with part D. Now you need to make sure that you do a dry run so that you get the pieces in the places that they're supposed to go, and that you're happy that, yep, that's the place where it's supposed to go, because it just makes life a lot easier. And it's always a worthwhile thing to do a dry run, because there's no harm in doing the dry run at all. And in fact, even the most experienced model makers will generally try and do a dry run before they actually glue anything in, just to double check that one, the part fits there, it fits there nicely, and that it is actually in the right place. That sounded like something bouncing off the speed bump outside. That's what that big crash sound was that you may have just heard on the, might have just been picked up on the camera. So there we are, as you can see, we've now got we've got the back side and an inner side wall. Now the next piece is piece O. Now piece M first. Make sure we do follow the instructions. Yeah, piece by piece. As you can see, it very quickly starts to come together. Piece O as well, didn't we? So let's cut that out while we cut it out. Right, so piece M will go in there. Again, just a little bit of glue on there. In at the bottom, and nice and snug, nice and easy. And then piece O goes in. Right, so I just need to see what I'm doing with that. So put that way. Now piece O is this piece here, and is basically actually a little bench which we're putting on the inside. So make sure when you put it in, again, that if you can see it on there, that there is a grain on there on one side and not on the other, so make sure you get the grain top side so that it can be seen as a little bit of detailing. See about dropping that in. There's two little tabs at the back. To go into. So it needs to go in at a little bit of an angle and then be pulled down straight. Let's try and get it as straight as you can. Right. And then we want parts L. Which finishes that foot off. Yep, that's the last one of those. And what we'll do on part C. There's part C. So what we're doing here is actually building up the inside detailing of this little shelter. To make it, well, for the so that you've got that nice bit of detail on the inside. Put the little supports in, and then I'll put the main wall piece in. And of course, the joy with laser cut kits is that they go together generally pretty well. I've not come across many kits, laser cut ones, that have been a pain to fit together. You know, the parts will generally fit together very, very well, because that is, you know, the idea of them, is that, you know, you cut through the slots and it literally, you know, slots together. So in theory it ought to be able to be capable of standing up by itself. So as we can see, we've now got the 3 internal walls and the bench in place, and what remains now is to actually fit the bench feet in. Now these are going to be quite tricky. Now these are part P, which is on here. So we've got 8 of those on there. So we need to evenly space them onto the underside of the bench in there, which is going to be quite fiddly, I think. So I'm probably going to need to either use my little pliers or me long nose tweezers to, you know, get them in there in place. So let's get them cut out first of all. There we go. That's that one finished with. So let's see. Right. Now then, you will hopefully, this might be able to see better then. You're able to see there, if the camera wants to focus. Basically, there is a little cutout on one corner at the back, and that is supposed to go against a little wooden framework that we've put in. It allows it to slot into there. So whilst I've got this one in my tweezers, what I'm going to do is just put a bit of glue on the back of it. Get it on there. There we go. And just go for it and just slide it in, slot it in place, and basically say once it's in, it's in. There we go. So I'll now repeat that with the others, get those in there, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Right, so now we've got our bench with all its little feet all laid out in there. It's probably the most fiddliest part of the build, I would say, well, so far anyway. With a little bit of patience, it's only taken me about 5 minutes or so to get those in there. So just take your time with it and they should go in quite nicely. So next part that we need is part E, which is this large-ish part here, which will go across the front and form a securing piece across the front there. Now we've got to remember that when we look at the pictures of this kit here. The grain, again, we'll watch out for that grain, is actually going to be on the inside of the kit, so it's going to go that way with the blank side on the outside. That will, you might question that now, but it'll all come obvious a little bit later when we start putting the exterior skin together on it. So I'm going to glue up around the frame for it to go in. So, and then slot it all in. Now the bench also needs to go into this front piece, and there's two little cutouts for that to slot into, which you may just about be able to see there. Well, that's, you know, essentially the main structure built up. You can see the little cutouts there for the bench to go in. So then basically now we've got a solid square building shell. You know, the interior is now done, so that's now ready for the next stage. And we have a quick look at the instructions. Right, so the next stage is to start putting the exterior skin on, which is going to start off with parts G and F, which are the two side pieces. And we're going to want part H as well, which is the back piece, which is that one there. So first of all, let's put together the side pieces, which is parts G and F, and it's quite obvious which way round they go. Again, obviously we've got to make sure that we put the grain on the outside, and they should slot into the base plate piece quite nicely, so it's quite obvious where they go. So with this we can be a bit more liberal with the glue and just literally spread it all out over the inner shell piece. Make sure we get the right side for the right one, pop it in and slot it in to position. If you're using a bit of a longer drying glue, you could probably put a peg or something over the join between the two pieces, but this glue is relatively quick drying, so I'm just going to, it should be okay to just get the rest of these pieces on. If I feel that it needs a peg for a few minutes just to help hold it, then we can always add a peg. It's not difficult to add a peg. So let's drop that one on there. Let's give it a bit of a squeeze just to make sure it's got it. Right. And now for the back piece. Now with the back piece we've got some little cutouts in the top, which you should hopefully just be able to see there. We've got to make sure that those go in on the top. You know, do look out for that. They've got to go up at the top to line up with the other slots which are already there. So when we come to put the back piece in, you know, we've got that to watch out for, and we should also find as well that the ends match up and slot in with the ends of the side pieces as well, and should all interlock together. So let's get the glue in there. Make sure we've got it the right way around. One side and the other, a little wiggle. And just squeeze and hold it in place for a minute. Just let the glue grab it essentially. There we are, that's looking pretty good now. Alright, so the next piece is the front piece, which is piece I, which again has the big curvy section on it, so you can't really which one it is. It's quite obvious. And again, just make sure that if you do a quick dry run, make sure that everything lines up as it should do, and that you've got the grain on the outside. And that looks like it's going to be fine. So let's get the glue on there. So as you can see, this, once you get past some of the fiddly bits, this kit really does fly together pretty quickly, which is really good, because it means you could build one of these up in perhaps an evening. If you're doing a bit of modelling in the evening or something, perhaps have it on your knee if you're watching the telly or something. Or if you just wanted something to do for an hour. So yeah, that's essentially our basic shelter all made up now. So I'm going to leave that to one side to dry while we have a look at the next pieces. Now the next pieces we need are pieces Q, which is the big black piece, and piece J, which is this piece here with an extra, with the ribbing on as well. So let's get those cut out. So, and take that little piece out there, which hasn't quite fallen out in the mould. There we go. Right. So, side corner pieces of that. There we go. Right, so with piece Q, now it probably won't show up on the camera particularly well, I'll see if I can get it there, but there is engraved lines in it going this way, and there's also ones all around the edge as well. Now what we need to do is to fold up the edges a little bit. So to do that, I'm just going to use little pliers just to fold the edge over, because this is going to help us in the next stage. The instructions say to do this bit in about 2-3 stages time, but I think it's worthwhile to do it now, because I think it's really going to help us locate the pieces in. So let's give it a little fold over. Because what we want to do is, with piece J, the non-ribbed side, so the side that's completely blank, is going to go on the inside of part Q. They're going to go together like that, and then we're going to glue around the edges so that they all, those pieces that we've just folded over, we're going to fold them a bit further and to get it onto the edges so it completely surrounds that piece there. So let's get it glued together first, and I'm just going to glue it on here for the sake of it. I'm trying to get some near the edge, so that will hopefully help us get some glue out towards the sides. But just to help it locate is why I've said to fold those edges over a bit first, is to help it locate in position. And just work your way around and just fold the edges down. You may find that the edges, with any luck, they might just stay in a folded position. If not, you could always run a little bit of glue down the inside, which I may end up doing just to help hold it. It seems to be going pretty good. So I'm going to need some. I think we might get away with that. I think we might get away. Because essentially this is the roof piece, so the black is basically acting as like roofing felt. That's its idea, is it acts as roofing felt, so it all sort of goes together that way. Right, so the next job is with part K, which again is another one of these rather large ribbed pieces. So let's hook that out of there. And if we look at the instructions, it does say we've got to put it around a certain way. Yeah, so we've got to make sure we get it the right way around. And the way around, it says, is that way. So we need to also make sure that the two end pieces line up with the two open sections in the main piece, because they are essentially going to be locating tabs on the actual side of the building there. So what I think might be an idea is we'll do a dry run without part K on, just to see whereabouts it goes, basically to see how much overhang there is at the back to stick out. And there isn't a lot, there is a bit but not a lot, so we know we could probably get away with it quite happily if we line up the 4 long bars at the back and then those on the side. We should be pretty much where we want to be, because these 4 long pieces go through those 4 sets of cutouts on the front and the back of the main building. So let's have a go and see what happens. As always, I'm not using a vast amount of glue because we don't need to, but this is one of those moments where just take your time with it. And it's also one of those moments where if you have a slightly slower setting glue, you might have a bit more of an advantage, to be able to wiggle it that last little bit in place just to get it nice. But I think we'll get away with that. Looks pretty good. Right, that's the end of page 2. Right, to page 3. So I can see it. It's basically to attach the roof piece on now. So it reckons to do it upside down, so to have the roof on your working surface and then stick the building on that way. So let's do our dry run again, make sure we're going to be in the right place with everything, and that's looking pretty good actually. I think we've got that absolutely spot on there, so let's go for it. Let's get it glued together. Right, here we go. Well, it's all gone down quite nicely, so I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on just to make sure it's gone in, and it does look pretty good. Like that. So that looks good to me. So our last piece to go in is piece S, which is one you could quite easily forget, but it is there. It's basically like a little frontage for it. And this piece, if you follow the instructions, literally goes just on that edge down there. So we'll glue along there. Like so. And then make sure we get that the right way up. So the curved bit is at the bottom when it's together will sit on there like so. And that is that all done. So there we are, one station shelter. So that's how to put together the 4Ground station shelter kit in 00 gauge. It's a lovely kit and it has not taken me very long at all to put it together, as with pretty much all the 4Ground kits. They go together really well, and basically there's very little adjustment needed for any of the kits. So this is ideal for any sort of station, be it branch line. I wouldn't necessarily big mainline terminus station, but certainly a branch line station, this is an ideal little shelter for. So if you wanted to customise it, you could do so. If you wanted to paint it, obviously you can do it. It's your model, you can do what you want with it. Well, yeah, it's a lovely kit, goes together well, and yeah, there's a few little fiddly bits, but nothing that anybody should really have any trouble with at all. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Also, do make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well, because it really does make a little difference to our channel. And of course that way you'll get to see all the latest how to make it videos and all the latest bits of stock and brand new items which we're getting in store on a very regular basis. So until next time, happy modelling!